In this video from sunny Tasmania, I'm driving a Daihatsu Mira TRXX Avanzato. Woohoo! Oh yes, it's another crazy little kei-car here in Launceston, Tasmania, but I'm going to put through its paces today, and I'm looking forward to this because regular followers of the channel may notice there is some similarity here between this and the Perodua Nipper that was on the channel a few years ago, and that's because this is an L200 Mira and the Perodua Nipper is an L200 Mira made in Malaysia. So this is the original, although I have to point out it is not by any stretch of the imagination in original condition. For a start, we've got these beautiful dinky little wheels here, 13-inch. They're a lovely shade, stand out beautifully against the paintwork. We've got some slightly tired graphics, but here you are, TRXX Avanzato Turbo. Originally these had a 3-cylinder turbocharged engine. This one has some modifications which we will get into shortly. But the Daihatsu Mira, a car I have always adored. And yes, obviously Australia, Mira Turbo. I am well aware of Marty and Moog and Marty's gorgeous little turbo. If you haven't gone and checked out the adventures of Mighty Car Mods and their Mira, please do, because it's just fascinating stuff. And I did speak to them in the rather ambitious hope I might be able to play with their Mira, but they're busy lads and we weren't able to arrange a meeting. They're too busy doing something with a Toyota Yaris at the moment for reasons I don't fully understand. They are strange boys. But yeah, we got a rather silly exhaust going on that I quite like. I just think it looks very amusing. And the Avanzato has this lovely rear spoiler arrangement, nice big hoop in it for the rear wiper to clear. This one has no rear seat, it would seem. That is instead dedicated to load carrying and also a big meaty sub. Actually, we'll start under the bonnet. So it's a 3-door rather than the 5-door of the Nipper, but we give that a tug. We'll have a look under the bonnet. So this washer bottle and battery are very familiar to me, very similar to the Nipper, but yeah, the engine itself rather less so, because instead of the 3-cylinder turbocharged engine, this one has the 4-cylinder engine from a Daihatsu Copen that has been squeezed in, and I really do mean squeezed. That is the turbocharger just peeking through the grille there. So it's all very crammed in. There's a little intercooler crammed in right against the grille. Originally there would have been a top mount intercooler, which is what this big scoop's for. That's to scoop air into the intercooler. Now it's just for general keeping the engine up to temperature. Look, we've even got a performance radiator cap, fuel pressure regulator, and you can actually see what your fuel pressure is. Big meaty master fuse, 250 amps, and a cone filter because noise. It's all very interesting. But front wheel drive, some of these, like Marty's, some Mighty Car Mods, were 4-wheel drive, which effectively had a live rear axle. I think they took the axle out of a Hijet or something. And but this one's just a 2-wheel drive. Moving inside, these doors open massively wide. I'm not sure how you're meant to open them in a car park because it's all very tight. But look at these amazing seats with the XX logo, big meaty bolsters, and they are really comfortable. And if I jump aboard, it's lovely. Really nice seats, far better than those in the Nipper. Looking at the dashboard ahead, it all feels very similar to the Nipper. In here, there's just more of it. We've got more speakers for a start. We've got a boost gauge. We've got a rev counter, which starts going red at 7,500 revs. It's unfortunate that that doesn't actually work. It hasn't been wired in. We've got a very large Alpine head unit, which sticks out to quite a ridiculous degree. There's some audio stuff and a USB mount down here. The heater controls are exactly the same as the Nipper, but with air conditioning also an option. And we've got this huge moon roof. It's a fixed panel, it doesn't open, but you can shut the sunlight out. And also I think there's a wasp up there at the moment, which is adding an extra level of excitement. There's a tiny little interior light, looks like it's got an LED in it. And down here we've got minor switch gear, and similarly buried on the nipper. I think the rear wiper switch on the nipper is down here. So it's indicators right, and exactly the same noises as the nipper. It's not exactly the world of refinement here. Quite a long throw on the gear lever. I reckon we can have him. Compared to the nipper, fifth gear is nowhere near my leg, whereas I find the lever is kind of embedded in my thigh in the nipper in fifth gear. We've got electric windows. I somehow managed to cram electric motors into these skinny doors, but mostly it's a tale of comfort seats and a spacious load area with no rear seat in it, which sadly means no rear seat test. Just thought I'd give you another angle on the load area. It is quite capacious. I think there's a separate filler. Yes, there's a separate filler for the rear screen wash in there. But otherwise, yeah, there's not a lot of anything. Oh, we have got the original space saver down there. That actually seems to be stuck in place. And a certain amount of sound deadening as well. But really, I think it's probably about time we took this crazy little motor car for a drive. Right, we shall start the car. I just have to turn the immobiliser off if I can find the right button for that. There we go. And the tiny little four-cylinder engine fires into life. We begin with a wiper check. Oh dear, we've got a bit of a triangle of doom. I think slightly larger windscreen wipers might be an idea. But not to worry, the owner's now wondering what on earth I'm doing. He might not be familiar with my level of wiper geekery, but we better check the rear as well. And oh yeah, that's a nice action, baby. I'm liking that. So in terms of wipers, it's all good, and the moonroof makes it really light and airy in here. It feels lovely, if a bit hot on a lovely day. I don't know if the aircon works, but we'll give it a go. Now, I would say that's probably not going to work. I'm going to have to leave my window open, I'm afraid, for reasons of ventilation. We shall apply a seatbelt in the traditional manner, but obviously the noise is very different to how it would have been new. It's a little ordinary compared to the three-cylinder engine, but nonetheless, it should be a good giggle. And we've actually got power steering, which somehow manages to feel less accurate. Just wait for the forklift truck. Less accurate than the manual steering in the nipper, but I won't hold that against it too much. So this car is going to make some hilarious noises, so I hope you're ready for that. It's interesting, the steering wheel has a flat bottom, which is a little peculiar. Are we ready? Oh, that's amusing. That is hilarity on wheels. So originally these cars would have produced about 63 brake horsepower, which is about 47 kilowatts, I think, for you Aussie viewers. And yeah, now they produce, now this one produces probably north of 70, I would suggest, which still isn't a lot of power, but then it really isn't a lot of car. Exactly the same indicator noise I remember from my little nipper. But yeah, the noise is entirely different. So it's quite weird to be sitting in a car which feels familiar, but is so very, very different. Torque steer ahoy! So I'm going like the absolute clappers, and I'm just keeping up with a Golf. That's the sort of hilarity these cars are all about, really. But very good mirrors. You know, it's an important part of the review. They are good mirrors. So for those not aware, the kei-cars were built to a class regulation in Japan, but gave major tax breaks. Nice Ford Ute there. To cars based on dimensions and engine size. So 3.2 meters long, 1.8 meters wide, and an engine no larger than 660cc, and producing no more than 63 brake horsepower. But what they didn't limit was torque, so you could have as much torque as you like. Which means, yeah, these 4-cylinder engines, although they don't have that growling, barking 3-cylinder soundtrack, they are very, very quick. Lovely early Austin A30 over there. It's just crazy. This engine revs hard. Now, an interesting tidbit. This engine is from a Daihatsu Copen, the little roadster thing with a foldy roof that looks a bit like a shoe. Only the early ones were kei-cars. The later export models in the UK we got had a 4-cylinder non-turbo 1.3 litre engine rather than the 660cc turbo engine. But I think similar engines to these were fitted in other Daihatsus as well. So the craziness went into quite a few different cars. But yeah, I must admit I am surprised, because I was initially a bit disappointed. Is this the only person in the world who's disappointed that a car is 4 cylinders rather than 3 cylinders? But the noise it makes, it sounds like a little demented bee. It's hilarious. It's very, very lazy off boost. So you do have to kind of downshift to keep it motoring along, especially uphill. But yeah, it's deliciously frenetic. But let's do it again, just because fun times. And also really, really boring traffic. Boo! But yeah, good brakes. They certainly stopped the little car well. Again, not much weight to deal with, I guess. But sounds like we're going 1,000,000 miles an hour, and we're doing around 70 kilometers an hour. Oh, what a hilarious little car. Oh, we have some dual carriageway. $100. And well, it's clearly doing a fair few old revs at 100 kilometers an hour. Just do that up for a bit of peace and quiet. It feels smooth enough. It feels happy to do this. Just using the hintest bit of boost to keep going at 100. So that must keep it nice and economical, because turbochargers boost efficiency or something. This one's actually running on about 80% petrol and 20% ethanol, just because of the tune at the moment. Apparently the injectors in it are a bit big. I've been fortunate enough today to spend time with the person who built the car and the person who now owns it, so I've been getting a bit of insight. Also insight into how this car managed to sneak into this country, because typically Japanese imports aren't allowed. This one managed to get in during a narrow window when they were allowed, but generally, for whatever reason, Australia won't let you import a car that wasn't sold here originally. And while Miras were sold here, they didn't sell lunatic turbo versions. More's the pity. How's the handling? Oh yeah, plucky. Plucky, I would describe that. And also hilarious. I want it. I want to keep it. It is hilarious. Responds really well to rev matching as well. Popping exhaust even. Oh, I tell you what, you don't want a Nissan Skyline, you want a Daihatsu Mira. Out of my way, tiny kei-car coming through. Oh, this car is hilarious. They should offer this as a cure for depression. It's hilarious. Oh, I have to say, the suspension is firmer than the Nipper, but more composed, less bouncy. This is where these kei-cars really score, is that they're a proper giggle, even on urban roads. You can still get the turbo spinning, the blow-off valve even doing its thing. So I don't think the suspension is standard on this one. It's showing a certain amount of negative camber on the back, and I noticed the front has camber adjustment on the strut towers. Yeah, like so many of these cars, there was so much available on the aftermarket for them to make them even more crazy. And so you could take the limiters off, because I think they were limited to 85 miles an hour as part of the kei-car regs. But with a red line that's high, you're going to actually be able to wind them up quite to a fairly substantial level, I would suggest. Oh, this car makes me laugh. And after all, is that not what motoring is about? And finding a car that can make you laugh, even on a busy urban route, really is the, that's the magic of the Kei. Or Keiji Dosha, I think is the full phrase. Oh, well, I'll tell you what, that car is a proper giggle. It's an absolute riot. With only, about 70 brake horsepower? That's incredible. It just sounds fantastic. It revs like crazy. It handles well. It doesn't have power steering. I've now discovered. I must have dreamt that. And yeah, my hair has got somewhat blown around by the having the window open. But yeah, insane. That really has not disappointed. And the hint of, I felt when I learned it had too many cylinders has entirely gone. It's crazy. I love it. It's absolutely amazing. I think even with a slightly different engine, the Mira Avanzato delivers exactly what I dreamt of, because I saw these cars being tested when they were new. They did try importing them to the UK. A few did officially come over, and I used to pore over the magazine tests. These and the Cappuccinos, I just thought they were amazing, and I stand by that. They are amazing. I'm waffling on too much. I'm far too excited, so I think I'd better wrap this one up and say thank you for watching, and I shall see you in a future video. Farewell. Daihatsu Day!